Welcome back to Bible for Self-Starters. We are at Book 2, the Era of the Prophets, and Chapter 8, looking at the character of Samuel. Now, Samuel was someone that God used to replace a guy named Eli. Eli was a good guy, but he had corrupt sons. And then Samuel, it turns out, is a good guy who has corrupt sons, and he gets replaced as well. And he's not happy about it. And so we get to struggle with Samuel a bit and deal with these kinds of issues. Samuel was a good man. He was a judge and then a prophet. He led Israel out of the moral morass. That was the time of the judges, in which it said in Scripture, every man did what was right in his own eyes, and that was not a good thing. And so God used Samuel to anoint the first two kings, and which were Saul and then later David. The Bible seems to be almost of two minds about the kings, and the kings come about in somewhat like the law does, as a necessary concession that God is forced into making because of our nature, because of our sin nature. And so Samuel is told by God, God comforts Samuel because Samuel's upset about having to anoint somebody else's king, and he's not going to be the judge anymore, he's just going to be a prophet. And God says to Samuel, don't take this personal. They're doing this because they're rejecting me as their king. And so don't be surprised that they're doing this. And so Samuel anoints the first king, Saul, and then long later David. And Samuel dies before David becomes the king. In one of the more interesting stories in the Bible, Samuel makes an appearance after he's died. He comes back from the dead as a ghost, as it were, to visit and talk to Saul, who's desperate about the last days of his life. But when we get to Samuel, we're going to talk about what it's like to be an in-between person, not the person of primary and great glory, and how hard that can be sometimes. And yet God calls us to serve him because he is the primary one and he is the glorious one. So enjoy this wrestling with the Samuel character as you continue this study.